Lesson 4 in Unit 5 talks about relating fractions to decimals. This isn't going to be hard, but you have to write down your steps. If you get stuck and you write nothing down, you're not going to get it. Write everything down you know, and it's going to get easier and easier and easier. So it says right here, you can write fractions with denominators of 10 and 100 as decimals. So if you can get the denominators to be tens or hundreds, they go straight into decimals. So let's take a look at this. It says 6/10 is 6/10 or 0.6. And we know that because that's our ones column and that is our tenths column. So we have 6 in the tenths column, so 6 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 6/10. 9 100ths is 9 hundredths or 0.09. Ones column, tenths column, hundredths column, 9 hundredths, 9 over 100. Okay, let's take a look at this one here. 1/5 says is equivalent to 2/10, and we know that because we can take 1 out of 5, or 1 over 5, and we multiply 5 by 2 to get a denominator of 10. Well, whatever we do to our denominator, we know we have to do to our numerator. So if we multiply our denominator by 2, we multiply our numerator by 2. So we come to 2 over 10. Okay, so 2/10, 2 over 10 is 2/10 or 0.2. That's our ones column. That's our tenths column. 2 in the tenths column or 2/10. So we can say that 1/5 and 0.2 are equivalent. Let's take a look at this. Off to the side here, there's an example here, a demonstration. So 6/10. We know that 6/10 is equal to 0.6 because this is our tenths column, and there are 6/10. There's 6 in the tenths column. We also know that 6/10 would be the same thing as saying, well, if we had a 0 right here, that would be 60, and this column is the hundredths column. So there are 60 hundredths. So 6/10 equals 0.6 equals 60 hundredths. That's our fraction. It also is equivalent to 6 or 0.600. So 0.6 is equivalent to 0.60, which is the same as 0.600. We could have an infinite number of zeros back here. It doesn't change the result at all. So this is our ones column, our tenths column, our hundredths column, and our thousandths column. So in this case, 6/10 equals 0.6, 6 in the tenths column. This as a fraction would be 600 thousandths. So 6/10 is equivalent to 60 hundredths, which is equivalent to 600 thousandths. All we do is multiply 10 by 10 to get 100, and 100 by 10 to get 1,000. So let's see what that looks like as we move down here. I'm going to make that slightly larger. So when we take a look at the grid, it says write a fraction and a decimal to describe the shaded part of each grid. In this case, it is a 10 across, 10 rows, or 10 columns and 10 rows. So there's 100 little squares in this whole thing. In this case, we have 75 shaded, so we have 75 out of 100. Well, that's our ones column, that's our tenths column, that's our hundredths column, and we're interested in 75 out of 100. Well, we take everything, we do a little box to the left, a little Beyonce going on there, and it is 75 out of 100, which is our fraction, or 0.75. Okay, in this case here, we have 15 shaded out of 100, which would be a fraction of 0.15. There's our hundredths column, that's what we're looking at. and we have 15 hundredths shaded. Everything, if this is the column we're interested, the hundredths column, everything in a box to the left, we have 15. Same thing over here. There's 42 shaded. It'd be 42 shaded out of 100 that make up the whole, which would be a decimal of 0.42 or 42 in the hundredths column. Okay, let's go over to page 2 and see if we can make sense of this. So page 2, the practices say color each grid to show the fraction, then write the fraction as a decimal. So what it's given us is 3/4. And it says, how do you show this grid as 3/4 shaded? Well, you divide it into 4 because 4, as the denominator, it says 4 makes up the whole. So we divided that into 4. We shaded 3 of them because according to this, we have 3 parts shaded out of 4. Now we know there's 100 in these grids, so there's 25 in that section, 25 in that section, 25 there, 25 there. So there's 100 little squares make up the whole. 75 of them are shaded. And if we take a look here at our hundredths column, we would have 75 hundredths as our decimal. Let's take a look at B. We start with 8 hundredths. So we shade in 8 out of the 100, and we know that we're looking at our hundredths column. Our hundredths column is that guy there. That's our tenths. That's our ones. We need our hundredths column. We have 8 hundredths, or 0.08. In this case, 3 out of 5. I'm going to let you guys shade this in and see what you come up with. But we start with 3/5, 3 over 5, and we need to get it into something over 10 or something over 100. So we know we can multiply the denominator by 2 to get 10. We multiply the numerator by 2 because whatever we do to our denominator, we have to do to our numerator. So we get an equivalent fraction of 6/10, and we get 0.6. Now, 6/10 is also equivalent to 60 hundredths. So there's our hundredths column, and that looks a lot like what we just did earlier in the video. So I'll leave the rest of these for you to do, but number 4, there are your solutions to kind of help you get there. Work it through with the math, show all your work, and you'll get there.